So I'm back now from a short trip in Suffolk, and I just wanted to kind of, introduce this little vlog and just say that here is the story of my time in Suffolk. It all begins in the middle of nowhere, which I think is kind of definitive of Suffolk itself. It just seems like a place full of nowheres. We were staying in a converted barn attached to a farmhouse which still had a small holding, so we had some pigs and some chickens and some cockerels, of course, just strolling around our gardens, which was very sweet to be around. But this place was literally near nothing. The closest town to us was Hellsworth, and the first day that we were there, we kind of went into the town and we spent some time on the high street. And actually, it was a really, really lovely town. It had the feel of a close-knit community, a sweet little village that still retained a lot of its sort of traditional buildings and everything. The high street was just full of independent shops and cafes, which was really lovely to see. There was a little bookshop there. It wasn't anything particularly to be excited about, but it's still nice to see that there is one that's surviving and obviously doing well. This town kind of felt like a hub for all of the villages that are around it and a place for people to come and to congregate, and there were lots of really nice services and lots of cute little places to visit. Of the 5 books that I packed with me to take on holiday, the first one that I read was 100 Shadows by Hwang Jungeun, and I will probably talk more about this book particularly in a different video because this was part of my TBR for the month. But suffice it to say, I gave it 3 stars in the end. We are a family that's tend to be drawn to the sea, so of course we went to the coast in Suffolk. It's quite strange because living in Devon in a sort of valley, we're kind of used to red cliffs, pebble beaches, lots of hills. Suffolk was just very flat, lots of water around, not necessarily the sea, but lots of lakes and things. And there was also a lot of wildlife that we don't tend to get in our part of the UK, just because of the type of land that we have. So we went to a few of the sort of nature reserves around, the National Trust properties and Minsmere, which is an RSPB land with lots of birds and wildlife. It was really nice to kind of see some of the birds around. I unfortunately missed the otters, which was very disappointing, and we didn't see any seals, but there were some really cute little ducklings, which I think you'll see in a second in these clips. The next book that I read was Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, and I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars in the end. It was a really easy, simple read that you could have just read in one sitting in a few hours, if that. It is a really comedic yet wry commentary on Japanese culture and fitting in, and this collectivist idea that you must assimilate in order to be a part of society, with a really unique narrator's voice that it just highlights different ways of thinking and being in our current world. And then on our rainiest day, unfortunately it was rainy, but we went to Norwich in Norfolk, just across the border, and it was kind of a shame that we went there when it was so wet, but at the same time it was better to do a city whilst raining than it was a sort of nature reserve where you're outside for the whole day. I really wanted to go to Norwich because I like being in cities. We don't often get to go to the cities in Devon. I mean, they're not really that big anyway. Exeter is our closest, and that's not much of a city. And it has no real identity. So it's nice to go to a place that does have a sense of identity and like a sort of history and a narrative that you can explore whilst you walk around and visit the various places. There is a really wonderful independent bookshop in Norwich called The Book Hive, and I absolutely loved it. The use of space in the shop is really interesting because it's not that big a shop itself. Some of their books are separated almost by publisher on some of the shelves, which I really appreciated, especially seeing Europa and Pushkin and all the other sort of independent publishers that this bookshop obviously really values, and the ones that I really enjoy reading from all together on a shelf. It was just a really lovely place to be, and I bought 2 little books. I bought A Broken Mirror by Mercè Rodoreda and Ernesto by Umberto Saba, which are books that I've both really wanted to read for quite a while, and I've never really kind of seen them in many shops, so never really had the opportunity to pick them up like in the flesh. So I was really excited to be able to do that here, and I just loved the selection that they had. And then the third book that I read whilst on holiday was The Lost Magician by Piers Torday, and whilst it claims to be a sort of homage to the Chronicles of Narnia, it kind of just felt a bit like a cheap rip-off, and it really wasn't all that much of a retelling or a reconfiguring for modern times. It wasn't original at all, and it didn't really feel particularly poignant or saying anything important except for kind of quite questionable things or ideas. The writing was really good though, and it was very easy to read and get through. So there were elements that I did enjoy, but overall I was just not that keen on it. But some of the most lovely parts of the holiday was just being able to relax in the barn, spending some time in front of the open fire, A friend from secondary school who I hadn't seen in years, who lives in Bury St Edmunds, she came over and visited me. We spent a day playing games and watching TV and just catching up in the hot tub. So there were really lovely parts of the holiday which weren't all just about being out and about, and sometimes it's just nice to be able to sit down and unwind. And of course, like any good farm, there were cats, and that kind of just made the holiday a little bit better. Just before leaving, and on my journey back home, I picked up Slightly Foxed. It's the 61st edition. It's a literary magazine which just has some really nice collections of essays talking about books that may have gone under the radar or you may not have heard of before, and I always do enjoy reading it.